since we're all in the same family, just break the news here before you do it at 7.
You know what?
Wouldn't that be great?
I would do that for you, Michael, but the answer is I don't know who they are
Oh,
yet.
it's in an envelope.
I actually don't. It's not. I haven't even seen the envelope yet, so
Really?
I'm not even sure if they've made the decision. We are assured we'll get them in time for the reveal on
See,
Monday
if
Night
Don had
Countdown.
told me that, I'd say you're lying. I look in your eyes, and you seem like you're being truthful.
I am. I'm
Here's the
completely
hot take.
truthful.
I think he might be one of the most truthful-looking people at our night.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Well, I mean, it's not
There's
not a
deep
real high
honesty.
bar.
There's a deep honesty in my eyes and shallow truth from the rest of the cast. Is that it?
Still, somebody's got to win it. I think he did. All right, so we're set. Alabama, Washington, Clemson, Ohio State. To you, are these the 4 best teams in the country?
I think they are the right teams to be in the playoff. I think it's clear the top 3 are the best teams, and you can certainly make a case that Washington is one of the 4 best. That is exactly who I would have put in the playoff given the circumstance. And without going in too much boring detail, I sort of look at the committee's job much like putting together a puzzle, making a painting, and Michigan, Penn State, Oklahoma, the other 3 candidates, in my judgment, all had glaring holes in their puzzle or the picture. And Washington's hole, while still it had one with the non-conference scheduling, it was smaller than the others. So I thought the best 4 teams got in.
Now, obviously, Penn State's argument. Wait a second. We won the conference championship game, and the team that wasn't even in the championship game is one of the 4. But clearly, Ohio State is better than Penn State.
I think so.
Right.
I mean, Penn State won the game, and I know that you're supposed to make judgments based on the results of the field, and you can. But if we think that the best team always wins, that's silly because there are upsets. Right. I mean, nobody thinks, to use a basketball analogy, nobody thinks Middle Tennessee was really better than Michigan State last year. They just won the game. I mean,
right.
It happens. And I think Ohio State is very deserving of being in.
And as far as conference championships are concerned,
Right.
use your college basketball analogy, there'd be plenty of times Duke would lose to North Carolina in the conference championship and still be the 1 seed in their bracket. I mean, I know it's not exactly the same, but just that's you're trying to.
It's
put
just
together.
it's understanding the concept of upsets,
Right.
and I think it's the same thing. The thing about the conference champions, and I understand that people are well intentioned when they say this. And I know a lot of the conference championship games didn't go this way. But think about this. If you just had conference champions, we could have wound up with Florida, Virginia Tech, Colorado, and Penn State. And there's really only one playoff caliber team in there, and that would be Penn State.
But one thing it does tell you, Reese, and I think it tells you this all the time in college basketball, I mean, the conference tournament is there to make money.
That's
it
right.
It really doesn't mean
There you go.
anything.
That's
and
right.
that bothers me just a little bit because I heard Joey Galloway on Mike and Mike a couple weeks ago, and he said, if Ohio State makes it and Penn State doesn't, if the Penn State beat Ohio State, then everything that sports is built on is not being really adhered to. Who beat whom on the field? Even if it was an upset, they did beat them. Now, I agree Ohio State's better, but Penn State has a legitimate beef.
They have a case. I don't know if they have a legitimate beef, but they've got a case that they should have been considered for inclusion, and they were. Joey said that on a show that I was hosting as well, and I disagreed with him because I thought it was a little hyperbolic. I mean, Joey's a great guy. He and I just happen to disagree on that particular point. Because then you're putting all of the weight just on the Penn State-Ohio State game, and you're saying the Penn State-Pittsburgh game didn't count. Or the Penn State didn't lose by a touchdown to Michigan. They lost by 40 or 39 to be precise. They got destroyed. I know that they had injuries. But I think a playoff-worthy team, that's a blot on your resume that it's hard to overcome to me.
Now, do you think expanding to 8 is going to solve a lot of these things, or we're going to have 9, 10?
Yeah, I do this in basketball every year, and we're arguing over 69 and 70 versus 68.
Right.
If you go to 8, you're going to have the same argument. I like 4. It maintains the exclusivity. I like the fact that we have some subjectivity in the process because before we had a mathematical formula which allowed for little subjectivity other than the poll votes, and nobody liked that. So I like the fact that we have 12 conscientious people in there, 13 when the committee's at full force making these judgments.
And I think that expanding it just delays or brings the argument further back. As you said, a field of 72, 73 will say it. And I keep hearing, well, if you make it 8, the argument's going to be less strident. No, because we see how strident it is, team 75 in the NCAA basketball. So I agree with you. The more you expand it, you're only going to expand it for money anyway.
Right. And the only way I would agree or be accepting, at least at this juncture, at this point in time in college football, and what I think is best for the sport, would be if you eliminate the conference championship games and put the first round on campus, and that way you're not adding to the workload of the players. If you do something like that, you probably have to do something else financially for the players somehow. And even then, I think you can bring up a lot of arguments against it. And as you rightly pointed out earlier, the conference championship games are revenue generators, and I don't see many people willing just to hand back money.